tour. We will start driving towards the island of Kungsholmen, and since we will be staying on the bus for a while, we do have a law in Sweden according to which you have to have the seat belts on when we are driving around. If we are stopped by the police, you might be fined. It's a good idea I have told you about that, and if you don't want to have them on now, you should put them on immediately if we are stopped by the police. This street is a street with older houses, as you can see. It could be sort of part of the old town, but it isn't. This area was burned down in a big fire in the middle of the 18th century and rebuilt after that. There are some wooden houses here. In one of them, on the left-hand side where the light is burning next to the door, is a theatre, which is claimed to be the smallest in the whole of Europe. 20 seats for spectators and 1 actress, who plays all the roles. The building on the right-hand side has been a hospital. Nowadays it houses studios for artists, and this area, this part of the city is known as the most bohemian part of the city. There is a studio of an artist also in the green building on the right-hand side, which used to house an elevator. There is no machinery in there now, and artists can rent the place for a while and then paint the view. And this so-called artist colony continues on the left-hand side. You can see that there are old houses there, also small wooden and stone houses too. And they see it's very irregular. There is no city plan up there. They seem to be sort of dropped from above down there. And then if you look to the left, after this yellow building, which used to house a textile factory, you can see a taller building on top of the hill. And the two here it is on the left-hand side now, the pale yellow one with green roof. It's on the top floor in that building. Lisbeth Salander bought her new place in these Millennium novels, if you remember The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and so on. Most of the important events in those novels take actually place on this island. Stieg Larsson used to live here, the author, so maybe that's why he chose this island. And both Lisbeth Salander and Mikael Blomqvist, the two leading characters in the novels, they live on this island. And they have been made into Swedish movies, and the first novel, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, has been made into Hollywood movie as well. And I think that was the beginning of this Swedish detective stories were started spreading all over the world. And nowadays we have also special trips and special walks on this island, for instance, with the Millennium theme. So that it has made Stockholm famous, and not only Stockholm but also other towns like Ystad, where Kurt Wallander lives. I think that has been on TV, a TV series in the United States. Some of my guests told me that. I saw the police van, so I put my seatbelt on. The fine is actually quite big, so that I didn't want to pay that. That is more than it's actually $250 you lose if you are fined because you don't have the belt on. On the left-hand side is a channel between the lake and the sea. We will be moving over to the lake side so you can admire the Baltic Sea on the left-hand side, and your beautiful ship is standing there too. The temperature at the moment is 15 degrees Celsius. Shows the thermometer on the left-hand side, and that is a little bit more than 60 Fahrenheit. And then on the right-hand side is the lakeside now, with the city hall, the golden top, with the golden top in the tower, and the beautiful church with the black spire is the island on the island of Riddarholmen. You will see it better quite soon when we drive down to the shoreline of Lake Mälaren. In front of us is a Hilton hotel. We do have one also here in Sweden, but only one. Hilton bought Scandic hotels here, and then they converted one of the hotels into Hilton and sold the others. They didn't have the good standard was not good enough for Hilton, so that's why all the other hotels were sold. And here you can see a group of people checking something. This area is going to be completely rebuilt. You can see they have started digging, and next year half of this traffic junction at Slussen will disappear, or they have made a big hole on the left hand side, and after that it will be rebuilt, and then the other half will be pulled down and rebuilt, and it's going to look completely different after that, but it will take a few years and a few million Swedish kronor as well. In front of us now is a small street that goes up the hill there. That is another artist colony. And just a little bit further to the right is the street Bellmansgatan number 1, where Mikael Blomqvist lives in the novels, not in reality. And it's said in the novels that he bought the flats. It is a condominium, but it is not. It is actually a rental apartment. And there is somebody else living there, not Mikael Blomqvist. The actor, Mikael Blomqvist, is actually now Mikael Nyqvist, sorry, is the name of the actor, also Michael, but Nyqvist. He's actually shooting a Hollywood movie. An American film team is in Sweden here now, and it's kind of a detective or criminal, I don't know, thriller or whatever. So they are filming it here in Sweden at the moment. And obviously there's going to be typical red Swedish houses in it. If you look ahead, you can see that this street is pretty long. It is the longest on this island. It's the most polluted street in the whole city. The air here is not very good, and as you see, new trees have been planted on both sides here now, linden trees. They are the ones that can actually grow in a city where the air might not be so good. They can take the pollution, and it is of course so that they clean the air, so that's why they have planted the trees. And I would not personally like to live here. I don't think people can have windows open because there's a lot of dust coming in, and also those particles that are dangerous for your lungs. They come from the macadam or asphalt that covers the streets. Now we go, oh, look at the car, a golden one. They sell beans. It's hopefully coffee, not the other beans. And by the way, Mellqvist Cafe, that is also in the novels, is located just behind the kiosk in front of us, in right front. That is where Mikael Blomqvist sits and works and drinks coffee. So there are many places on this island associated with the novels. And if you haven't read them yet, please do. They read very well. And you cannot stop when you start. The problem is you have to stay up all night, as I did when I started reading them, and they are quite thick. It's between 600 and 700 pages, I think, each of them, so that they read really well, and they are fascinating. It's a fascinating story. Well, now in front of us you can see the beautiful City Hall building with the golden top in it, and it's just gold plated. There is no gold, not that much gold. The top is made of copper, and the 3 crowns on the top is the coat of arms of this country. And the ice hockey team is called that also. It's really a good one. Last year they won the World Championships in Stockholm. This year they didn't do so well, but still many good players. And then the central area of the city with the high-rise offices standing in a row there. It's a good landmark, actually, very easy to remember. And then closer to us now is the island of Ritterholmen with this beautiful red brick church which dates from the first part of the 14th century, so it's almost as old as Stockholm itself. There are 17 Swedish kings buried in the church, so it is like our Westminster Abbey, or St. Peter's Cathedral in St. Petersburg, where they have the Russian Tsars. The island of Riddarholmen belongs to the old town. And we are now driving along the shoreline of Lake Mälaren. As you see, there are many ships moored along the shoreline here. The biggest ones are hotels or offices, and the smaller ones are houseboats. It is possible to live like that in Stockholm too. And I think if you buy a houseboat, then one should be aware of it going to be a very expensive project, because first of all they have to pay for the place here, and then it's the maintenance of the houseboat that is really expensive. You have to take it up regularly and renovate. The enormous red brick building on the left-hand side used to be a beer brewery, München Bryggeriet is the name of it, and München is Munich, so it was Bavarian type of beer that was made there until around 40 years ago, when it was closed down and became a congress center and an office building. Luckily it was not pulled down as they planned to do first. And then if you look to the right, there is a beautiful shoreline on the right-hand side. It is the shoreline of the island of Kungsholmen, King's Island. That's the western part of the city. We are heading that way. There is a long bridge in right front, which we are going to cross to get there. And we do have quite a few bridges, because there are many islands, 14 in the central area, so 54 is the number of bridges in Stockholm. This water here on the right hand side is water that I have in my water bottle. Yeah, and Gitte has also a water bottle with the Lake Mälaren water. We drink water from the tap here, and it is safe, it is clean. Waterworks are located a little bit further outside the city, and we take our tap water from this lake. So it simply shows that Sweden is environmentally a very clean country. You can see certainly fishermen today in the central area standing on the bridges and fishing. There is salmon and trout, for instance, here, pike, perch, and so on. And herring, of course, which you might have tried on board on the ship. The yellow building behind the trees on the left-hand side has been owned by the Nobel family. And if I say Nobel, then you are probably thinking of dynamite. Alfred Nobel was the man who invented it. In Swedish, the name is pronounced Nobel, stress on the second syllable. So we don't say Nobel, we say Nobel. The Nobel Prizes are presented in the city, in the central area of the city, in the concert hall, and the banquet is held in the city hall where we are going now. So I will tell you more about that when we are actually there. And now let's cross the bridge, which you have to do twice if you take part in Stockholm Marathon, which was here 2 weeks ago. Then the weather was not so warm, so I think the marathon runners were quite happy about it. The length of this bridge is 1 mile, 1.5 kilometers. It was completed in 1935. Before this bridge, we used to have boat traffic across the bay here from Kungsholmen to Södermalm, and it was rowing boats. It was women that rowed these boats, and they were pretty robust and athletic, of course, and they were also famous for their foul language. So they were not very ladylike, I think. If you look to the right, now you can get a good view, a photo of this view on the right-hand side with the old town, the city hall, the island of Kungsholmen, and on the other side is Lake Mälaren that stretches 120 kilometers to the west of Stockholm. It's a very long lake and very narrow. So often people say, oh, what is the name of the river you have here in the central part of the city? Although it is not river. It is a lake. Covers around 1,000 square kilometers. On the right hand side you can see a lot of padlocks attached to the bridge there. And it is so that when you get married, you can just put a padlock there and you can throw the key to Lake Mälaren, hoping that the marriage will last. But obviously it doesn't help so much, because the number of marriages in Sweden per year is around 50,000 couples get married, and within 1 year around 20,000 couples get a divorce. So it's the divorce rate is very high. Nej, det går bra. Jag säger till om det. Eller men det märks att du lyssnar jättebra. Du passar liksom hastigheten inte för hastigheten. Det är jättebra. And now we have landed on the island of Kungsholmen. We will actually do some island hopping during this tour today. We will not be able to cover all the 14 islands, but some of them anyways. The park on the right hand side is a sunbathing area, and there is a skating rink also, as you can see, under the bridge for skaters. This island has quite a few big parks, and in general we can say that Stockholm is a very green city. Is in the summer, of course. 42% of the area in Stockholm is parks and green areas. 13% consists of water, and 45% is built-up area, which is less than a half. It's not really surprising that Stockholm was elected as the first green capital in the European Union. It was 4 years ago, 2010. And one example that they took in this decision was that inhabitants in Stockholm have just 300 meters to the nearest green area wherever they live. So we have a really good possibilities for recreation here. We drink water from Lake Mälaren, we swim in it, we can fish in the central area, and what is more, the local city buses use only renewable fuel in them, like biogas. They might use alcohol, not the one we drink, but ethanol. And then they might have electricity as their source of power, and so on. And then we have also quite a few people have cars that are hybrids now, so that's they have two types of fuel, biogas and then electricity if they run out of gas, or the vice versa. So that's we are really thinking about our environment, and environmental questions is one of the main interests of our king. He attends all kinds of conferences all over the world, and he's an outdoor person, likes skiing and is sporty like many Swedish people are. And if you see people walking around with sticks, it's also quite popular. That's Nordic walking, as we call it. It's a good exercise for elderly. And then also 100,000 people in Stockholm use their bicycles to come to work in the summer when we don't have snow. So that cycling is very popular. And it's maybe because our public transportation system is expensive. A card for 30 days costs 790 Swedish kronor, which is around 120 US dollars. So it's very expensive. And petrol is $2.50 per liter, not per gallon, but per liter. So it's expensive to have a car too. But as you see, many people have them all the same. This street here is regarded as one of the most expensive streets in Stockholm, and not surprising, because it is, as you can see, a shoreline with a beautiful view across the lake. And the higher up you live, the more you pay. I can talk more about housing later. Now we are approaching the city hall, so I will give some practical information about the tour there. First of all, when we leave the coach and start walking towards the city hall, then you should check whether there are any bicycles coming, because you have to cross a bike path, and the cyclists, they seem to be both blind and deaf. When they cycle, they don't see pedestrians, so you have to take care of yourself. And then inside the city hall, I would like to ask you to follow me. It's a workplace, so people are not allowed, visitors are not allowed to run around without a guide. I have to wear a special badge also when we are there. When we go in, I will get the stickers for us, and we put them on. Photos are okay almost everywhere. There is one room where they are not okay, and I will let you know in advance so that you know which one it is, and you can take photos in that room too, but without flash. We are going to see during the tour the banquet halls and also the working area. I will start my tour outside, and then I will give you time to take photos of the view before we walk in, and then I think you might like to see